because there is a bit of networking here. It's going to be a community here. Everyone who's signed up to be at this event is aligned in the sense that we want to see a more empathetic and just world. And, you know, that's some pretty good filtering to start a safe space with. So just for a few minutes as we wait for more people to join, I'm gonna just go ahead and allow other people to share the floor and introduce yourself. Can we go back one slide? So I would love a brave volunteer to, and I'll kick it off. So my name is Michael Tennant. I'm the CEO of Curiosity Lab and the creator of Actually Curious. What brings me here is the desire to build community with people who want to see a more just and empathetic world. And I'm going to start off by answering a happy hour question. One trait I'm proud to have inherited from my parents is blank. The ability to just not be afraid to confront issues and ideas and just like go after it. All right, can we get a volunteer from the audience to share, just hop off mute and share your name and what brings you here, and I will pull a card for you.
Hey, I'm Susie Bowie. I'm with Manatee Community Foundation down in Southwest Florida. And I'm just really excited to be here and meet some like-minded people.
Amazing. Welcome, Susie. And your question is, who is a person you've gotten to have a conversation with that totally blew your mind?
So I've met some pretty interesting people in my job, but one of the people that I've had a chance to talk to a lot lately that blows my mind is one of my board members. Her name is Lillian Elliott, and she's actually been working in the space of diversity inclusion for years and has dealt with some crazy things and just keeps doing the work because she's passionate about it. And I learn something from her every time I talk to her.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Susie. All right, who's up? Can we get a new volunteer? Welcome, Tanisha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself with the community here?
Hi guys, I'm Tanisha Wood. I am a dating coach and a matchmaker. I'm currently located in Puerto Rico. And what brings me here today is just Mike's energy and just willingness to build community. And so anything Mike does, I'm like, I'm there. So I look forward to getting to know all of you and spending time today.
All right, Tanisha, it's your time. Just tell me when to stop.
And stop.
Okay. Kind of jumped back a little bit. I can't see myself. So, all right, your question is, I'm the CEO of blank, and my next innovation is blank.
Ooh, this actually brings me to something I'm working on. So right now, I guess I am CEO of the Broom List, and my next innovation is creating happy marriage. So within my matchmaking, I'm in the process of creating a new company that is targeted at Black singles, professional Black singles, and increasing the Black marriage rate in the Black family.
Amazing, amazing. A sister in connection. All right, I think we have time for a couple more. Would anyone like to jump up and share a little bit of themselves with us before we move forward?
I'm down.
All right, Juliet, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. So my name is Juliet. I'm currently in Paris, and I'm the founder of a dating app based on personality types. So we match people based on their natural compatibilities. And we joined here today because actually first and Lord had the same mission to foster emotional connection between people. So we're really glad to share with you that it's okay for her. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Juliet. Thank you for your bravery jumping up. All right, let's do one more before we go and kick off the program here today. Just one more volunteer.
I'll go.
All right,
Hi.
G, let's hear it.
I don't like silence.
Oh, I didn't pull them. Thank you. That was my fault. I actually didn't pull a question.
Oh.
So G, why don't you start? You go ahead, and then we can bring Juliet back up for a question.
Sure. So my name is G, and I own a brand called Take Care Space out here in the East Bay, in California. It's a self-care. I call it a brand that helps you journey through self-care to self-love with products, services, and experiences. And I manufacture artists designed yoga mats. They're all designed by women of color and underrepresented women artists, and then printed here in California. And I also align with organizations and other brands, such as Actually Curious and Black Boys Own, and some other really beautiful brands out there that are creating some, very amazing things out in the world, especially now that we really need it. So I'm glad to be here and experience this with you guys, and looking forward to what's going to happen today.
Okay, welcome, and I'm going to remember the question this time. So G, Juliet, I want to have you guys both answer this question. Amazing, how perfect. All right, so the question for you both is, what was your favorite game as a kid?
You go first.
My favorite game?
Yep.
So I don't know if you have the same game like friends in America, but it was like I mean, of course we do have like the Monopoly, the board game Monopoly.
Of course, it's a classic.
Yeah, of course. I was not sure.
G, what do you got?
So it's so funny. My husband and my stepson just bought Monopoly yesterday, so we're gonna play it this weekend. So that's actually one of my favorites. But as a kid, I used to love. So I grew up watching Star Search. And so I used to put on Star Search, like, and I used to do like, and have like my family do like the voting with my cousins, and like we'd put on shows and we'd have like our parents like vote. It was kind of traumatic too at the same time.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, y'all. Thank you for joining us in this little icebreaker. We're going to dive into the program here. Once again, we kill the music. Once again, my name is Michael Tennant. I'm the founder and CEO of Curiosity Lab and the creator of Actually Curious. Curiosity Lab is a concept agency that focuses on creating products, content, and experiences that change narratives. And Actually Curious is our first product. And we've been so blessed as to create a game that had a mission of connecting people and helping to teach the tools of empathy. And that game is starting to yield really fascinating experiences around spreading tools of empathy and helping people to foster difficult conversations in their communities. And we're excited to share a bit of that here with you all. my background is in partnerships, and when, even creating the agency, part of the goal was, how can we use our platforms, how can we use the muscle that we put behind marketing to align that with things that we want to see come to life in this world. So when the Black Lives Matter movement started to spring back up, and our work started to get some attention, due to the quite frankly, the loss of black bodies, we wanted to use every ounce of attention that we received to pay it forward into the movement, and to create examples of how allyship can be done, and to inspire that work across all different kinds of borders. And we're hoping this is an example of that. This event is one of the first 2 events in a series of events we're calling Empathy 2020, which is a movement to gather allies in spreading empathy. It's created in partnership with Birdie, which you met Juliet here today. Birdie is a new dating app that connects people based on personality compatibility instead of pictures, and promotes self-awareness and deeper understanding. And those are principles that align so perfectly with what we're trying to do on different levels, that this was just a partnership that made a ton of sense. And through our work and community building, we came across a initiative organization called Transparent in Black, and their mission to create healing spaces for Black communities, which is really dear to us here at Curiosity Lab. And when we started planning and finalizing Empathy 2020 and our events, the Allyship workshop and the empathy workouts, which we'll hear more about, we asked them if they could come along, help us be a storyteller, and help be a beneficiary of the work that we're doing. And with that, I would love to invite Fatu to share a few words about Transparent in Black and what allyship means to her.
Thank you for that, Michael. Hi, all. I'm Fatu. I'm the brand manager at Transparent in Black. So kind of just adding on to what Michael was saying, we're a wellness collective really looking to shatter the stigma around Black wellness and what healing means for Black people. Specifically, there are so many things that Black people have experienced historically that we have not reconciled with, coupled with just the systematic lack of access to wellness resources, to mental health resources, and to things that Black people need to sustain life. So Transparent in Black was born out of this idea of like, why isn't there a space for Black healing? And not necessarily a space, where we don't believe that other people's healing or other groups of people's healing is not important, but how do we cater specifically to the things that Black people have experienced, intergenerational trauma, medical inequality and lack of equity. So all of these different things, in that we experience, and wanting to create a space where we can not only talk about those things, but we could actually implement resources and implement spaces where Black people could access those things. And I think specifically the conversation that we were having last week was just this idea of like, if this is a space for Black healing, how can I play a part in that? What is my role in that? And it started a really interesting conversation between myself and Michael about, you don't necessarily have to belong to a group or belong to a group of people that's affected by something to have empathy for it and to want to help achieve a common goal and a common mission. So that's kind of like, this idea of allyship in creating spaces for Black healing specifically to us, is that while we are creating a space that is meant to, help Black people have access to these things, it does not mean that other people cannot contribute to the common goal of what it is that we're trying to do, and really trying to get people to see why it's so important for Black people to have these specific resources and have access to this type type of environment.
Amazing, Fatu. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
And thank you for just helping to set the stage of the spirit that we're hoping to foster here. I think if we did our job properly, we sent a lot of communication. So thank you for showing up. Like, we're overwhelmed with the attendance. You've all probably received a link to what we're calling the Get Closer Pledge. Again, you've all been invited here because you share the desire to see a more just and empathetic world, and you all have platforms and superpowers that can be put to use right now and beyond. You know, we're not here to tell you exactly what your purpose is, but we're here to try and help you strengthen your abilities to kind of find that purpose in yourself and to find the collaborators out here in the world that share that purpose with you. We've shared a link. If not, we're going to also share it here in the chat to a pledge. And the pledge basically is you know, take what you want from it, leave what you want to leave out of it as well. It's also permission that, you know, we can share your contacts with anyone who's come to these allyship workshops. So if you'd like that and you'd like to be a part of that community and get that, then that's the way to let us know. Otherwise, we won't be sharing your information. But the pledge reads as follows. I pledge to do the work to get closer to myself, my values, background, and beliefs, so that I know my biases and strengthen my ability to see them in others. I use empathy to guide them to recognize these biases on their own. And I use this awareness to guide me into the company of like-minded and values-aligned individuals and organizations. And together, we use our superpowers to bring about the world we want to see. A just and empathetic world. This I pledge. Cool. All right. So, you know, my gift here to you before we just open up the floor to a community style discourse, which we hope might get a little spicy. Who knows? Hopefully, we're doing our job and making the space safe. Is to pass on just a few things to keep in mind about spreading empathy and strengthening your empathy muscles along the way. So, you know, what we hope people will get the bug for and want to go deeper in is these 4 areas. So, recognizing bias. You know, the more you open up your channels to seeing your own judgments, is the better you are at helping people or recognizing that in other people and helping them gently to see that in themselves. Listening with curiosity versus fear. And this basically assumes that, you know, we're attuned to protecting ourselves, and we develop a really strong habit of doing that. And the more we can start to open up and be really curious and recognize our judgments, is the better we are at seeing others' viewpoints. And creating a safe space. You know, thinking about it early and often, who's involved here, what's their context, and how can I help make this space safe for them? Is there someone else who might be interrupting or disrupting the space? How can I strengthen my abilities at gently redirecting them to honoring the space? Creating a safe space is about awareness, about who's in the room, and being thoughtful about how you show up and what role you will play proactively. And then finally, and specifically in the context, I normally don't include this one, but I think, you know, for an allyship workshop, I think it's relevant. But thoughtful partnership development, and you know, we all are very busy. I think part of the hardest part of effective, thoughtful partnerships is how much time is it going to take, and what's the delivery going to be. But if we can all be a bit empathetic, thinking ahead of time about, you know, what's going to be good for the other person on the other side of the table, or even doing that extra work to seeing the overlap with your own goals, I think, and that's empathy. That's, you know, then we'll all be better at taking this shared values alignment to a place of activating it together to an exponential effect. So a couple real quick things that we introduce when we go deeper in workshops are this idea of the 5 core emotions, which are joy, fear, anger, shame, and sadness. And essentially, as you get deeper into understanding empathy, if you can understand those emotions, you can start to recognize different signals of that in your body, different signals of that in communicating with people, and it just really strengthens your ability at executing the 3 types of empathy, which are somatic, which is your ability to almost feel what other people might be feeling in the room. I mean, I think many of us are familiar with the term empath, or sometimes maybe some of us get feelings in our bodies and we're not quite yet attuned to what that might mean in a situation. Somatic is this idea that you can actually feel what other people are feeling. Cognitive, which is an intellectual understanding of feelings, understanding those 5 emotions we just mentioned: joy, fear, anger, shame, and sadness, and how, what that means on the intellectual level. And then affective, which is the combination of the 2. And finally, the reason this is important, especially as you all here are almost on the front lines of empathy, but the reason this is important as you start to bring it into your community is the holistic effect that it has when you're able to strengthen your ability to have self-awareness and have a full cup through your own emotional resilience. Then you're able to apply that to your immediate relationships, out further to your business relationships, how you then apply that further to your community, and then how you live a lifestyle that allows you to attract values-aligned people just organically. Fatu and Transparent and Black, Birdie, who's here on the call, many of you who are here came because something that we were doing that was just exhibiting our intrinsic beliefs and our intrinsic values brought you here. And we're betting on the future where the more of us that do that is the easier those connections happen. I'd like to actually introduce another collaborator, Megan Lee Joy, to lead us in. That was the class part. She's going to help bring us back into the connection by leading us through a bit of a grounding exercise before we get into the workshop.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. All right, you guys. Hi, I'm Megan Joy, and I would like you to get comfy if you're not already. And close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it at the top and release. And keep this deep breathing going in through your nose, out through your mouth with a sigh if you like. And I want us to hold the concept that it's not about what we do, but how we feel. And to really allow yourself, your mind, your body to dig into this moment and this current space that we are in. Breathing deeply into the truth that we are among allies and we are creating family, a family that supports one another into changing this world. And feel that in your bones, in your muscles, in the space between your eyes, around your heart, swirling around your hips, And take a deep breath into your body, truly relaxing any and all tension. And exhaling anything that's not serving you. And with a smile, I invite you to place both hands over your heart, showing yourself compassion so we can then show others compassion. And pressing gently on your chest, take a final deep collective breath in together. And exhale with a smile. Slowly wiggling your fingers and toes. Gently opening your eyes. And coming back to this beautiful space. More invigorated and hopefully fuller as well of love. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Megan Lee Joy. Ooh, I needed that. Oh man, I'm gonna start just by like giving a little bit of vulnerability that 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, I was super calm and then I got all wrapped up, and you just like really helped me return to a place of like just opening up and for connection. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is one of many partnerships. Megan Lee Joy has brought her superpower and confidence within producing Zoom events to some of the initiatives that we wanted to do here at Curiosity Lab, and so we've started partnering on events. She's produced this event. We kicked off the Empathy 2020 with the first of our empathy workouts on Sunday, which was so awesome. And I see some faces here from that event. So thank you guys for showing up and for your support. So what we're gonna do here is, the context that we have is allyship. But what we're gonna do is use the Actually Curious card game as a tool to almost just like moderate a town hall style conversation. We have allotted for this section, we have about, let's see, what do I have? Let me check out my notes. 25 minutes. So 25 minutes, 4 questions. So that's roughly 7 minutes a question. And if we run out of discussion, then we'll move on. Our first question will be from the blue category, the lightest after the happy hour edition, which is, what were the holidays like for you growing up? As we head into a holidays like no other, let's start with just giving a little bit of context of where we're coming from. I'll lead off. Holidays for me growing up were in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Jamaican family. We had family in Queens. We had family in Connecticut. We had family in Jersey. And there was this like amazing rotation of parents like hosting at their home. All like they were all homeowners. They all like took advantage of programs like in the like 80s in like, struggling neighborhoods, and they bought and they were there for it all. And it was just a really fun time because we had a lot of family, and it's different now because everyone's spread out. We're not in the tri-state area. And I'm Michael, and you've heard enough from me.
I guess I can share. Holidays for me growing up were a big thing. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in Conakry, Guinea, and we moved here when I was 4. So things like Christmas, New Year, like a lot of the things that I think are very big cultural moments here, didn't experience those things until I moved to the States. So it was definitely like a new experience. And they were fun. I think it was an opportunity to learn more about American culture. And I really enjoyed them. As I realized though, like as I got older, we celebrated less and less, but I think that was just more so now thinking about it, my mom wanting to introduce me to just new cultures and making sure that I felt like I had similarities between myself and, you know, kids that were born and grew up here. So, yeah.
Yeah, can we have another volunteer maybe share what brings you here? Welcome, Annie.
Hi, it's good to see you. I'm Annie. I'm joining from San Francisco. Some of you are in the Bay Area. And I just wanted to say out loud that, like, even though this is the easy level, I feel like my initial response to answering a question to a group, it's so hard not to switch into think about your answer mode and instead just listen. So like Michael, when you started to answer the question, my immediate instinct is like, I'm like, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna come off? How am I gonna frame it? And I really had to consciously like take a step back and listen to what you were saying. And it like took a moment, but yeah, I'm trying to just answer in the moment rather than sort of like planning.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, being genuine.
That's like a next level exercise.
Well, yeah, I just noticed that come up. For me, I have a really small family. I'm from Colorado. It's just my sister and my parents. So I never had like that big, energetic kind of holiday energy, but we kind of have some small traditions and we always end up staying together. One of the things I love is that on New Year's or Christmas Eve, we read The Polar Express, if anyone's read that picture book, and the illustrations are super beautiful. So I cherish that book if anyone else has read it. But really glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Michael, and everybody. Good to meet you guys.
Annie, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna have to check out the Polar Express. I'm kind of like into relaxing by going back into childhood. So, and also thank you for taking that moment to share what happened for you emotionally. That's something that some of you all who may have like done a demo with me individually, that I ask people to do is instead of answering the question, first share what's happening for them emotionally. So Annie kind of took it next level. Anyone else want to dive in on this question? I would love like 1 or 2 more volunteers, people we haven't heard from yet, the community hasn't gotten to hear from.
I could dive in and say one since I got so moved by the Polar Express reference. The first thing that came up for me was I thought maybe good for empathy purposes because holidays always had to have my grandma's monkey bread, whether it was Thanksgiving morning or Christmas morning or Easter morning, it was always monkey bread. And for my entire childhood, I thought it was like her recipe and no one had ever heard it before. And she had just like made it up and it was just my favorite thing. For anyone who's not familiar, it's like Pillsbury biscuit dough that you chop into pieces, roll in cinnamon sugar, throw in a bundt cake pan, cover in sugary butter goo, and then so like it's this pull apart loaf. And it's literally like as common as like mashed potatoes. It's like but when I grew up and realized that she was actually just part of like a generation of people who loved making these weird, like partially homemade, partially store-bought, pre-made type of dishes, it actually didn't ruin it for me. It was just like so charming to realize that and realize that I was probably a kid, you know, with millions of other little American kids getting so excited about their grandma's monkey bread.
Yum. Awesome.
Yum.
I'm picturing like the emoji with like the tongue out. It's like I'm hungry. All right. So, all right. Before we go up to the next level, thank you, Lisa. And before we go up to the next level, I want you all to maybe try and flex a new flex an empathy muscle here. Earlier, we shared that there are 5 core emotions, and I said them kind of quickly. I'll say them again. Joy, fear, anger, shame, and sadness. I would like you to kind of just like check in with your body and kind of almost like establish a baseline. So it's like, okay, this is how I feel. And when you are immediately exposed to the next question, I want you to see if any of those 5 emotions come up for you, and just record that so that when you answer it, you can share what came up for you and why. All right, let's go. The next question, green level. What does activism mean to you? Do you consider yourself an activist?
I guess I'll go. Sorry, my camera's off. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues. So I never really
What's your name?
Sarah.
Okay, hey Sarah.
Hey. I guess like now I would consider myself an activist, just more with like the means of like poetry and art with mental health. But I've always been just like really shy and just scared to speak up. And the more involved I got with my own community as a Nuyorican and what that means to me and my family and friends and strangers, I realized like I wanted to provide more support. And I do that by providing like therapeutic art and creating safe spaces for self-expression and like no judgment spaces where people can just get together and be themselves. And now with the pandemic, it's been such an essential part of my own like personal process, but my own people and whatnot. It's just really mind-blowing to see like what we can do when we get together.
True that. Anyone else like to jump up and share their name? Kanani, let's go.
So thank you, Michael. So I'm Kanani, and thank you, Michael. Yeah, so I'm an activist. I think, how did this happen? I mean, I think my parents really my father specifically, really empowered me from a very young age. And I just kept like listening to music. I think my parents, like, especially my father again, was like very intentional in making protest music the soundtrack of my young childhood. So I'm listening to like Peter Tosh, Bob Marley interviews and music and you know, James Brown and Gil Scott-Heron and Miriam Makeba and Hugh Masekela and Toots and the Mate. Like, this is all, I'm like 5, I'm 6, I'm 7, I'm 8 years old. And so I would listen to all this stuff, and they kept talking about freedom. So I keep figuring out like, okay, so there's this thing called freedom, and all these people keep singing about it, but it's like they don't have it, but they want it, but they don't have it, but they want it. And so then I kept figuring out like, okay, so, you know, in school, they're telling me to pledge allegiance. They're telling me that America is the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? But then I'm listening to this music, and the music's like, you know, what's going on? Marvin Gaye. And so I figured out, I was like, okay, so there's a thing that people want and they don't have, but yet they get up, stand up for their rights, Bob Marley, to get closer to it. And so I understood that racially, and then like randomly, I read this, my parents had this, read this book called African Holistic Health, and it talked about how they treat the animals and how they pump the cows up with hormones, and like how there's so much chemicals in our food. And I was like, well, that's not nice. And then I was like, oh, well, I need to care about the environment too. So I'm like 10 years old, and I'm like, no soda, you know, no, or, you know, natural, you know, no Lysol, you know. So now I'm 40 and I'm like, everything, I'm like, oh, you know, I care about this, like, you know, bleeding heart, I care about everything. So, but it all came from like this level of like this purgatory, you know, this bifurcated reality of like what the world could and should be and what the world is. And then I do Michael knows, so my company is called Black Issues. So I talk about issues and solutions that directly positively impact the Black community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that baby activist just kept finding new ways to get the word out and bring people in.
And it's not virtual. It's not virtual signaling. It's just like, this is my life, you know? Like, you know, I've been using organic hand sanitizer and lip gloss, you know, since they came, you know, for 20 years. Yeah.
All right.
Michael, are we allowed to respond to other people, or should we stick to just answering the question for ourselves?
Just jump in.
Oh, I just wanted to say, how do you pronounce your name again? Kanene?
Kanene is fine. Kanene, all good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just loved what you said so much, and it gave me such a strong flashback to wondering if the music that I listened to, that my parents exposed me to, affected like how I evolved as a person. And I swear to you, like the only music my parents exposed me to was like Enya and Sting. It was like all they listened to. And I'm like, is that why I'm such like a mystical passive person? Like Enya doesn't talk about civil rights issues. You know what I mean? But
Sting,
so cool.
yeah. Well, Anya, yeah, that's more like ethereal, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she definitely is like nonconformist, and I grew up to be very nonconformist, but really like didn't identify as an activist until much more recently, when I realized that my desire to be nonconformist wasn't just solely based on my own selfishness, but was on a hope for systemic change. So thank you for sharing that and sparking a little realization in my own mind.
Well, it's like if you're raging against the machine, right, to be this nonconformist, well, then there must be something about the machine that you have to rage against, right? Absolutely. So then that would be the offer in terms of like, well, if you're a nonconformist, well, what's wrong with conformity?
Well, that's it's interesting that you say. I've been reading this new magazine. It's not new, it's just new to me, called Current Affairs, and it's all socialist, democratic socialist issues and commentaries. And it's
know about this.
For anyone who wants to look it up. It's a group of people in New Orleans, and they write about political issues, but also like culture and like absurd humor. They love humor as well.
Love it.
And they talk about self-help and the way that neoliberal ideas make you think it's all about you, control your own thoughts, be in your own body, as opposed to encouraging raging against the machine or changing the system. It's all about changing yourself as opposed to changing our environment.
And the systems.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. We just took it deep. LA. Kanene, thank you.
Yeah, so they said to repeat it. I think someone said to repeat. It's called Current Affairs, you said?
Yep.
Current Affairs.
Thank you for catching that. All right, y'all. So in the spirit, we have time for one more card. And in the spirit of allyship, I'd like you all to sort of kind of think about the unique powers that you have here, the platforms that you have, and sort of bring that into this next question. The yellow level. Imagine yourself in the future. What will your greatest accomplishments be? And if this is your first time speaking, just share your name, where you're calling in from.
I'll take this one because I very interestingly did a visioning exercise with a couple of people. So we were in the future. We were thinking in the future. So my name is Shanae. I'm calling in from Brooklyn. And what I see as my greatest accomplishment in life is bringing people closer to their full realization of themselves. I work in brand strategy, but I also do a lot of like executive and leadership coaching. And I'm always trying to get people to like realize what their unique strengths are, and like understanding that your strength doesn't necessarily need to be my strength. And then, you know, realizing that, you know, empathy is a strength, just like being extroverted is a strength and introverted is a strength. So really, when I think about, you know, what my accomplishment would be and what I would want to look back on my life and see is that when people are around me, they were, you know, the fullest version of themselves.
Thank you. Yeah, I share that. I'm trying in this work that we're doing to create ways that people can sort of remix breaking the ice and getting people deeper in conversations, and would love, you know, any opportunities to combine forces with you. All right, Charles. Thank you.
Hi, Michael. My name's Charles Brandstool. It's hard when you think about the future lately. It's really hard to imagine like what it will be like. But I would have to say there might be two things that I would say would be my greatest accomplishment, and probably one of them would be what I'm doing right now, which is I own a retail store, two retail stores here in New York City. One is in Brooklyn, Shani, just so you know, and you know, I've had it for 25, almost 30 years, and it's a place where we've really created a lot of community for customers to come, and the kids are great. I've seen them grow up from when they were little babies up until they're now, you know, I hire them sometimes, and then they're now through college, right? Like, so there's a lot of history there, and I feel like that's one of the greatest things that I've accomplished. But I think in the future might be probably my parents passing. Like, I imagine that I will be taking care of them as they pass along, and I think that that to me, I imagine as a gift, right? Not for them, but for me, right? To be able to witness someone's end of life. So that's what I see, those two things. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Charles. Charles one of the very first shops to bring Actually Curious into his doors, and really grateful to see you. It's been a long time. I'm no longer in the East Village, so we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Cool. Anyone else who hasn't had an opportunity to share?
Oh, I knew it was coming to me.
Let's hear it.
Felt it. Really quick. I'm in Brooklyn also. So Charles, can we get the name of Charles's stores maybe in chat or something? Anyway.
Yeah, exit 9. Let's send it over.
Oh,
Maestro.
Cool. There it is. So it's funny. Imagine myself in my future. My greatest accomplishment would be the 5 emotions earlier that you brought up. Man, I felt this like weird joy, sadness because I oddly, crazily enough, have spent like 3 years trying to figure out a way to network myself into what I thought was my dream company, dream job, sort of. And had almost given up last week, and I talked to a career coach friend of mine, and she was like, try again, you know somebody, you can figure this out. And I looked one last time, and I found a really good friend of mine who knew a person there, and I shot him an email, and he shot an email to his friend, and like within 12 hours I had an informational interview today with them that like came together all of a sudden, and I was like paper bag breathing, freaking out. So it's and look, not to make it all about me, but just a little bit of the background. Like, I've kind of hated my 20-year career in advertising agencies completely and thoroughly for all 20 years I've been doing it. And so like to have this moment of like, I can not have a giant black hole portion of my life that I hate, has just been really cool the last 12 hours. or just to kind of see. I read a quote yesterday or the day before from what's his name, Tom Morello, the guitarist from Rage Against. Speaking of Rage Against the Machine, the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine. There you go, Canadian. And his quote was, "You are the leader you're looking for." And I was like, "Holy smokes, that really popped me." And so it's interesting that, like, I don't know, I've been kind of beat down about all of it, and really taking the bull by the horns the past few days, and have seen results coming out of it. And so, you know, what my greatest life, just to think that there's an accomplishment professionally, which is not all of me, but too much of me, that I can be proud of, has been really cool the last 12 hours. More than that, but you know what I mean? Like, just watching it really kind of hit an exit velocity in the past couple days there is cool.
I love that. Cheers, man. Congrats. You know, we're all somewhere on the journey, and I think one of the biggest things that we try to encourage people and give permission to believe is that they can have a whatever that is for them, a greater output. And so if we can open up that gateway for them, you know, we think we're bringing allies along a positive path. So with that sort of brings us to the next. No, let's go to the last section. So here's a kind of open forum, and you know, the point of that section was to give us a tool to quickly get to know each other, to try something out. It's an experiment, but to quickly get to know each other, even though we're apart, and to hear other perspectives that in some ways may inspire some of our thinking, inspire collaboration, inspire just new perspectives. But here was just wanting to take the reins off, you know, not be game master for a moment and just open it up. A couple prompts that could be used in this section is ask a question of me, of any of the other speakers, or even just community members who you met tonight. Share a reaction to something that moved you, that you didn't get an opportunity, you were kind of on the fence but wanted to speak to. Ask for help if there's a way that you think the community can help along your goals, just based on who you've met already tonight. Or offer help if there's a platform that you're willing to offer. May that be even, you know, collaboration in social media or whatever. And we have, you know, 4 minutes or so here before we sign off.
I'll jump in. I can offer support. I'm really good at offering support. If anybody needs support with social media or branding or producing any kind of content, most importantly, video content, I am here for you in the literal logistics and or the strategy. Asking for help, I also get to do to balance this out. I have created a TV show and I've filmed it, and it's beautiful and it's going to inspire the world. So if you have anyone that is looking for digital content that can be dispersed in many different ways, boy, do I have a show for you. And a big moment that just hit me in this workshop was, I think I have a lot of shame around activism. I've been an activist since I was a little kid. It's the one thing that literally fires my soul up is social injustice. And I always feel like I'm not doing enough. Always. There's that whole conversation of not doing enough, not doing it in the right way. I've tried to get right and wrong out of my mind and vocabulary and just focus on love. Is it from love? Is it with love? Is it in love? Yeah, so that was just like a really interesting conversation to have in my head when Michael brought up that question of like, I feel all of those emotions when it comes to activism, and being able to conquer the shame so I can show up more powerfully. Thank you guys.
Hi. Megan, I feel like I'm G again. You and I are like soul sisters in a way, because everything you just said about activism, it just resonated with me so much. I also felt a lot of shame when that question came up. And I recently learned that I'm an 8 in the Enneagram. And if you guys follow what the Enneagram numbers are, 8 is very,
shit.
yeah, like I'm brutal. Like, and a lot of times I think I'm a bitch, and I'm also an energy healer. So in my energy classes, I would raise my hand and say, so I don't understand, like, how do you know you're just not being a judgmental bitch, or if it's your intuition? And I'm learning more and more when I'm being a judgmental bitch versus it's my intuition. I'm grateful for that. But a lot of times the judgment still comes up. But in any case, I just wanted to say that. But I wanted to also put out there that I am getting I just got Reiki 2 certified, and I need 6 months of healing work to enroll in my master's program. So I'm putting this out there to the community. If anybody would like Reiki healing, distance Reiki healing, I would love to practice on you. And in exchange, would love to get feedback. So you can get my information from Michael, and yeah, so I wanted to put that out there.
Michael, you got to connect us all. I've got ideas for everyone so far.
Well, for starters, I can
Seriously.
say that one thing in my journey over the last few years, and some of you can attest, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with asking for help. And I want to just give you guys all permission to just go ahead and like shout yourself out in the chat, just your name, your Instagram handle, real quick. G, Annie, high five. Y'all got the Bay Area connection. Juliet, I know you're missing the Bay up there. So yeah, let's just start to, I guess, bring it home. What's the next slide we have?
Oh, I wanted to, is it no more time?
Yeah, please, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Kanani. So I guess what I can offer, I just find it interesting, like people have shame around activism. Like, why? Like, I'm like, no, like either you do it or you don't. Like, and you either, I mean, to me, I'm just have fun. Like, I try not to have any, so one thing I can coach on, like shame about anything. Like for me, I'm vegan, and if I want to eat some mahi-mahi, I eat the fucking mahi-mahi, and I don't beat myself up, because it's just like, it defeats the purpose. If you're going to eat macaroni and cheese, eat the macaroni and cheese, and then still be like, I'm vegan. Like, you know, and I am vegan. It's like, to me, like the energy it takes to beat yourself up, you just take that energy to actually do what it is you want to do. So that's my offer for you. If anybody needs coaching on like, they're beating themselves up about not doing something. Like, I'm a perfectionist, so I beat myself up about like not doing it well enough kind of thing. But I think that's different it's just different. So yeah, I can coach with that. So I do diversity training. I just did this huge advertising firm. Literally, I just finished off my last session with them today, and they've already like booked me for more sessions. I'm like, awesome. So if any of your companies, large or small, or even in like your friend groups or some social group that you have, need any type of like, again, like blind spots around activism, specifically around racial justice, Black issues, I call myself the anti-racist personal trainer to knock out racism. Y'all, we're not ready. So I offer that. I love it. I swim in the sea of tranquility that is genuine, authentic, and urgent around racial inequality. So holler at me. No need to be in shame and guilt mode. No. And what I need is probably now, working on building out like an activist like platform which is already starting to happen, where people come to me and they hit me up. I'm like, yo, come to this march, or like, come, do you know any marches that are happening? Or yo, like, what, you know, we need someone to talk about whatever the issue is. So I'm building that up, specifically a coalition of people who are not of color, I guess white people. I call it the Coalition of the Whites That Are Willing, to also talk about allyship. So I have a whole platform for them. So if there's if anybody wants to be in a coalition, like you get like a badge, you get some things, you get some like cool things that you can walk around and say that, you know, hey, I'm a part of this coalition of the whites that are willing. Okay. So it's cool. Not everybody gets to say that. So seriously, that's what I have to offer. And yeah, but hit me up for diversity training, and then my ask would be, I guess, just follow Black Issues. I give like a lot of content on like the history of race and the manifestations of racism, and hit it up, share it, like it, post it, retweet it. Billy Porter retweeted me or reshared me yesterday. So really, really fun. That's it. Follow Black Issues, hit me up for racial justice, and or if you're shaming yourself about something.
I love it. All right, and I get to give one last ask. Oh, is it? And that ask to the group is that you follow on, and that you join Empathy 2020 in any way that you can. Thank you for your support already. You come here asking for more and more, but we're going to have 3 more events in the month of October to help people strengthen their empathy muscles throughout the month. The next one is with an organization called Shift, and a amazing entrepreneur out of Philadelphia, and the topic will be empowering ourselves to empower others. Then on the 18th, we'll be back with Transparent and Black for a session called More Healing Spaces for the Black Community. And then we'll close out with Tanisha Wood and Birdie and Transparent and Black as well for a session that we're calling Know You, Love You, Be You. And that's it. This is our first allyship workshop. If you haven't already signed the Get Closer pledge so that we can link you all up with everyone here, the link is in the chat. And we look forward to connecting with you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much. So nice
Thanks
to meet
so much,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
So great meeting you.